Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back. Here we go again. It's a bunch of straight guys talking sports and whatever. So, what else can I say? Been a fun week. I had a great week this week. I was school vacation all over the place as usual. Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking, as the song says, and we're all over the place. No CB radio, cell phones now. So, yep, we're here to hit it hard, and some hit it soft. But we will.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Yep. We're going off the rails already, Tom. Here we go. We haven't even inserted. Well, speaking of that, before we get into emails, did anybody see the insert from last week with the Phantom clip? Did anybody see that from last week's episode? You gotta.
I did not.
You gotta go back and watch it. If you've seen it, you'd be laughing your ass off. So,
Okay.
I might have another one to drop in this week. It's gonna be like vignettes leading up to WrestleMania for the Phantom. Very good. The Phantom is a big fan of Brad. I didn't know that they served in the military. Desert Storm from 1991 through 94 over in the Persian Gulf. So they spent some time and money, obviously, over there. If you've seen the clip, it's great.
Yeah. We were hanging out for sure.
Yeah. So, Edward, before we get let's get serious for a minute. Can we get serious for a minute, Ed?
We're always serious, bro.
So this week there is no email. We did a very, very special interview, and Ed, tell us a little bit about that with our lead up for emails.
Well, first and foremost, this is brought to you by GoonGuard.com. GoonGuard, check him out. Best mouth guards on the planet. Check him out. Check out Andy's screen right there. He's holding them up. They set up in the microwave in 10 seconds. Use the promo code 1973. So we didn't get an email this week, but we did have an interview that we're going to set in here. This is with Gabriel Rose. He has type 1 diabetes, and he is an up-and-coming football player in the Metro Chicago area. And so he shared with us his story about finding out that he had when he got type 1 diabetes and his journey up through his sophomore year. And it was pretty interesting. Check him out. Good kid. Definitely, he's hanging and banging in the weight room, and it was really a pleasure to talk to, our good friend Dennis, his son, and share his experience with us.
So we're gonna drop that in probably right around. I'll throw it in there. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special 1973 podcast interview with a very special young man, a friend of a friend, son of a friend. Gabriel Rose, who's going to talk to us and tell us his journey with in sports with type 1 diabetes, if I have that correctly. And Gabriel, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, talk to your dad. Maybe your dad can add a little bit here and there, and we'll have some questions for you.
Okay, yeah, awesome. So my name's Gabriel Rose. I'm currently a junior. I'm 16 years old, and I go to Cary Grove High School. I got the shirt right now for my football team. So I've always been involved in sports in my life. Right now I'm in football, and we play for a very good team, Cary Grove. We have a lot of championships under our belt. We just won one this year. It was pretty great. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. The main thing is that I'm a diabetic, type 1 diabetic, and that whole journey pretty much started when I was about 9 years old, I believe. And I remember during that time I was in football, baseball, a bunch of stuff, so it affected me pretty hard. So when I was about 9, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and then I remember being in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And the worst part about it was honestly just not being able to be with my team during those 2 weeks, because, sports have always been like a big part of my life, and being with the team has always been big. And that's, still with me to this day. So those 2 weeks were hard for me. And, getting to learn the whole diabetic realm is very hard in the beginning because, no one likes needles. And then when you have doctors coming to tell you to inject this needle by yourself into your arm, it's a little bit tough, but it definitely broke me out of my comfort zone, and I'm still doing that, obviously. So since I got it when I was 9, I've had it for about 7 years. And I think the biggest part about being a diabetic is that, um, you're always constantly challenged more than the average person, and you're always pushed out of your comfort zone more than the average person. So I think that's definitely a big plus, because I would like to say that, my average life or my average football practice or my average day at school is, a lot harder than, the average person, especially my age, because a lot of kids my age, and especially in this generation, they don't like to work, and a little work scares them. So me being diabetic constantly has to push me to put in that extra work, put in a little bit more than everybody else. And I think that really helps me out. And when it comes to the sports realm, that adds just a extra layer of difficulty, because every day you have to manage that blood sugar, and so you're gonna have to constantly finger poke yourself, take insulin if you need to. You might have a practice where you feel like you feel sick, and you just don't feel good, and you don't want to practice, but you have to be there no matter what. So that definitely affects it. But the biggest thing is that when something like that happens, you just have to kind of realize that it's out of your control, and you just have to do what you can do to, I guess, get back in there, and just do what you can do to play it in the long run in the future. So that's definitely affected me a lot this season, especially because this season I was fighting especially hard for a varsity spot, and which was very tough on a state championship team. Um, so all those extra little knickknacks with the diabetes, it's definitely a setback, but in the long run, um, I believe that it just makes me stronger. And yeah.
So Gabe,
Yeah.
I
Good.
like to interject here, man. So talk us through, man, about how like your diet affects, how you kind of prep for going into like a school day, and then also like a day where you have a heavy practice and game day. Like talk about your diet, talk about, because man, you look pretty yoked, man. Looks like you've been hanging and
Thank
banging,
you.
saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, man. I mean, I know you and myself and your dad, we used to go to Gold's Gym in Dartmouth a couple of times back in the day. And, your mom's always posting pictures at the gym. So, I mean, I know you come from like good stock on people that work out. So, you
Yeah.
gotta let us in here on the secret, man, because you look pretty yoked, man. So tell us about it. So,
All
take
right.
us from
Yeah.
like freshman year, like, hey, like how you started, that type of thing, like what you're doing for workouts, that type of thing. And for food too, man,
Okay.
because that's really important. I know.
Yeah. So, obviously the food's very important when it comes to like your diabetes and your blood sugar and all that. But I think there's a very big misconception that when you have diabetes, you should only be eating healthy, be cutting down your carbs and all that. But at the end of the day, like, you need carbs. I remember in the
So what you're telling
beginning,
me is, what you're telling me is your dad needs to eat a potato and a roll, huh?
No, no,
yeah,
no.
definitely.
No, shut up.
No, but in the beginning of my journey, when I was still in the hospital, maybe the first like 6 months fresh out of the hospital, I remember my mom and me we would try to eat like as little as little carbs as we could, because we thought, the less carbs, the less insulin, the lower the blood sugar, the healthier you are. But that obviously didn't work out, because my body just kept going in ketosis. So at the end of the day, that misconception's obviously there with the diabetes, and that's pretty false. So after we got that figured out, I started, I want to say, just eating whatever I want. So up until about freshman year, I just ate whatever I want. But the summer going into freshman year is when I started working out. And then that's when I started like taking my diet seriously. So I'm thankful that my mom um manages a small gym like 15 minutes away from me. So I would go there like every day just by myself. And honestly, it would be like 2.5 hours because I could not drive myself. So I would go whenever my mom went and then when my mom left. So I was there just constantly doing whatever work I could do because uh start of freshman year I always had a vision to start varsity. So I would put in as much work as I could during that time just so I can start varsity when I'm a senior because that was my goal. So during that time I started incorporating like the proteins and all that, but nothing too serious. So that lasted, I'd say freshman and like halfway through sophomore year. And then halfway through sophomore year, we started meal prepping and I started just cracking down on like eating those like high calorie, high protein, like low fat kind of things because at the end of the day, I knew that that stuff would help me gain muscle. And that on top of going to the gym, you know, will build my muscle very fast and it does. So I started taking that seriously sophomore year until now. And so where I'm at right now, I pretty much eat a lot of food. I eat probably about 3,500 to like 4,000 calories a day. I
Damn.
can probably vouch for that.
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna
Yeah.
put me in the poorhouse. He's a human vacuum cleaner of food.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have good grades so you can go to college. You're cutting into your college fund right there, man.
I don't know, but it's going to a good cause. So yeah, so I eat pretty
Love it.
much everything I can right now, but I try to stay away from the unhealthy food. Like you'll never see me eat like, at least at my house, just randomly eat like cookies or brownies or something like that, just because I don't want to fill my body up with that. But I do like to fill my body up with like good calories and good proteins and good fats and good carbs. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
my
I'm doing.
if I
Go
can
ahead,
jump
Dennis.
in real quick. I know my wife does a tremendous job of meal prepping, not only for him but also for herself. Basically for a couple of times a week for the entire week. Good meals for him. Chicken breasts, veggies, rice, ground beef, all that good stuff, just prepped. So he's off to school. He has his breakfast. He's off to school. He comes home for lunch. He eats again. He comes home. He eats again and again and again. But I mean, the kids, like I said, you can tell he's pretty big. He's still growing. I mean, I think he finished the season around 168, and he's already up to 180 now. So he's really hard charging it. But kind of back to the beginning, like that when he was diagnosed, 9 years old. It was August 18th, 2016. Is a day that changed our family forever. Really, we became very educated, very fast about this new life that Gabriel had to live and that we had to support. So it was a very vulnerable time for all of us. I was very scared. I can only imagine, how frightened he was as a child, and you feel kind of helpless as a parent, knowing that you didn't really do anything to create this situation. It was just something that unfortunately happened. Like they still don't really know the cause of type 1 diabetes or why it happens. But we knew that, he had a mouth infection about a month before that. And then we had traveled. We actually went out to Massachusetts. I saw you guys playing hockey and stuff. Then we came back and he went into his football combine because he was playing youth football at the time. And he just lost a ton of weight really fast. He was urinating a lot. He was constantly thirsty, but he was doing his football combine, which is 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. And we kind of chalked it up to the overexertion going on during all this exercise. And I think one of the coaches or something said that he was, he's going to the bathroom abnormally, a lot, and it doesn't seem normal. So my wife decided to, hey, I'm gonna take him into the doctor and let's see what's going on. And I kind of got a panicked phone call that day that she took him in, saying, Gabriel's being admitted to the hospital. He's a type 1 diabetic. And I was just like, wait, what? This, healthy, virile, active, athletic kid is like, what even is, I didn't even really know that much about type 1 diabetes at the time. And so we've learned a lot. We've learned how to live with it. He's become super independent over the last several years, where we don't have to really stay on top of him about everything regarding managing his blood sugar on a daily basis. He does have a lot of challenges that other kids don't have, right? He has to constantly live in a different sphere than everyone else. He has to worry about, okay, what am I eating? How many carbs is this? He has to take all these extra steps, right? He has to do all these extra, my insulin, my insertion site for my insulin pump is screwed up and I'm out with my friends. What do I do? Right? I ran out of insulin. Dad, you got to bring me, I'm having a sleepover at my friend's house and I ran out of insulin. Like, there's a lot of, he had to do a lot of growing up really, really fast. And we had to be as patient as we could as parents. And sometimes that's hard, right? Sometimes, and Gabriel, sometimes I get like super frustrated with you, right? And I'm sure you get super frustrated with me because I'm up your butt about it all the time. But you kind of have to, because it can be a life or death situation if you don't treat it with the proper respect. But this young man was really one of the main catalysts for me wanting to lose a bunch of weight and become, a healthier version of myself, because I saw how dedicated he is and all the effort that he puts in. I thought it was a pretty small thing for me to, go ahead and just try to present, my best self. So I just want to take the opportunity to actually thank you, Gabriel, for kind of spurring me into action and helping me going to the gym with me all those months, day after day day. It certainly helped me on my way. So I appreciate that.
So before Ed jumps in, I just want to tell your son that since Dennis came on the podcast and we uploaded the video, we usually upload into our weekly episode any interviews that we do, and then we upload it eventually as a single. And your dad's segment was in our top 5 most downloaded audio podcasts out of all the episodes we've done. And it goes all over the world. We can attest to that. We get the analytics from wherever it's downloaded, and Japan, Germany, all over Europe, all over the US, Canada.
Wow.
I mean, it's in one of our top 5 most downloaded episodes. So hopefully the message that comes out, and we love to have fun. I mean, we cut each other up. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And
Dad eating potatoes and rolls.
Yeah. And I just want you to know that the message that you're getting out there could be a young athlete that's just being diagnosed with a form of diabetes or something else that, they could stumble across this, and the message that you're portraying, that it could get better for you. It could be a life-changing experience for not just yourself, but for other family members as an inspiration. That's always what we hope for with when we sit down and really do a deep dive with some serious stuff. And especially when it hits close to home, where, I've known your dad since 4th grade. So it's just special when you can, bring in different aspects of your friendship and family and talk about, certain things like this that could inspire multiple different people. So I'll kick it to Ed. I know Ed's got a couple of questions.
Yeah, man. So so what are you doing what kind of workouts are you doing? Are you doing are you cycling through like a 3x10, 5x5, kind of like weightlifting schedule type of a thing? And then following up with that question is, what are you doing for body maintenance? Are you having any issues with your body breaking down, to recover? I guess those would be a little bit more more serious questions coming at you, because I remember, because your mom, she was posting a bunch of stuff about your championship on Facebook.
Yeah.
Take us through that. Like, okay, look, this is what we did during the season. This is how I was eating during the season. This is what made me feel better. And kind of take us through like some of your workouts, what kind of food you're doing to kind of like recover, and how's your body reacting to, like heavy contact that you're doing through practice. Now, I mean, I know your dad and Andy and myself, practices were a little bit different than what they are now. They really didn't care about us as much. It was kind of like if you got knocked out during practice, you just, in the quotation fingers, you got your bell rung.
Hydration was not an issue back then.
Oh, okay. But so let me think about this. All right. So during the season, yeah, there's definitely some banging up, some soreness that goes on. So during the actual season, well, we work out usually twice a day and then a football practice. So we have strength and conditioning, which is just lifting during our school day. And then I would have practice from 3 to 6, which sometimes could be very tough on your body. And then after that, my dad usually sees me just like go in the basement, and I usually do something in my basement just for a little extra. But it definitely does a number on your body, especially the practices. When you're participating at that varsity level, you're going to get dinged up and all that. And on top of weightlifting, you're going to get sore, and that's just going to add another element of like hurt to your body. So I think nutrition is definitely big. Recovery would be like, I used to stretch every night, and I know that helps. You probably heard that all over the place. I have a massage gun that I would also use after every practice. When I would take a helmet to like, I don't know, my elbow or something, or like my leg, and there would be a big bruise, I would just hold the massage gun even though it hurt, but I knew it would help. So that definitely helped. The eating, obviously, protein. I just, obviously, like I said, I eat as much as I can, so I'm getting plenty of protein. So that definitely speeds up the recovery and helps, like replenish your muscle. And then just cold therapy whenever you can. At the school, we always had an ice bath after every practice. I didn't use it after every practice, but the really tough ones I would. So would all like the starters. That's where they would go, and I kind of just like followed in their footsteps because I knew, the starters, obviously they're going to be doing, what's necessary and what they should be doing. So that was kind of my schedule during the actual season. And then as of, I would say right now, there's about 2 to 3 lifts every day. So for football, 3 days a week, we have it before school, and that starts at 5:35. So that means wake up at 5 o'clock. And sometimes they're a tough lift in the morning, but you just got to wake up. And then one workout during the actual school day. And then after school, I lift. It's either that or we have the workout during school and then a workout after school that I choose to do on my own. So that's like right now. And obviously my body's always hurting, but I know that right now the off season going into my next football season is extremely important. And I know if I want to start on a championship varsity team and be the best player I can be, I have to push through a little soreness and go to the gym every day and do a little more every day because I know that it's going to help me. So yeah.
And drink electrolytes. You need
Mhm.
electrolytes are huge because he had a big issue not this season, but I think the prior season where after games his whole body would ramp up tremendously, like where he would where he was like rigid on the floor, screaming in pain.
Yeah, I
And
could
so,
talk about that.
yeah, go ahead.
So, so there was this, yeah, like my dad said, there was a kind of a problem we had. It was my sophomore season, so it was last year. And we didn't know about it. We didn't know it was a thing, but pretty much when you go through a very hard game and your electrolytes are already depleted, and because I have a pump that gives me insulin and that pretty much lowers my blood sugar, and when I'm playing, it looks like this. When I'm playing, it obviously isn't connected to my body because it will break. And that's what all the diabetics do. Anyone that plays football, they don't want it to break. So during the game, what happens is my blood sugar just creeps up and up and up. And by the time the game's over, it's, in the high 300s, 4 or 500s at times, depending on how long the game was. So once that happens and your blood sugar is all the way up here, you take a bunch of insulin and then it comes crashing down to a normal or low blood sugar. And we found out that pretty much deplenishes your electrolytes even more and just gets rid of whatever you have. So what would happen is whenever I would have a game like that, right after the game, about, I don't know, an hour maybe, I would cramp and the cramps would be very, very bad. So I remember one time just like walking onto the bus and I had to stand the whole ride home because I couldn't sit down because my legs were cramping that bad. And then, like my dad said, it was a different game, but I came back home, my legs were cramping, and I went down to stretch my legs, and then I just started feeling a cramps all over. It was almost like, you were taking like body hits like to your whole body, and I just couldn't do anything but fall to the floor pretty much. And then the cramps like spread like to like my fingertips, my neck, to like pretty much everywhere on my body, and I just couldn't get up, so I just screamed for help. And then that's when we kind of asked our endocrinologist. We were like, "What's up with this?" And we found out the real reason. So we got that under control.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot he has to, because he can't wear the pump during the game. There's a lot of manipulation he's got to do that day of the game to be able to keep his blood sugar at a certain level. And we're I'm even looking at it and saying, okay, he's around 120 right now. It's school's ending. He's gonna start getting geared up and everything. And then so the goal for him is to try to have it be, as low as it can be before he disconnects from his pump and then goes and gets after it out there on the field, because he's going to be disconnected from that thing for 3 hours. On practices it's different because he can go step out, check his blood sugar, take some insulin if he needs to. When it's Friday Night Lights and there's so much going on, he really doesn't have that luxury. So there's a lot of wear and tear and sacrifice that his body's going through just so he can play this sport that he loves so much.
So could you
Yeah,
put it,
Go ahead, Ed. Go ahead,
could you
Ed.
put it back on at halftime and like at least kind of get like a baseline there?
can you repeat that?
Yeah, could you put it on at halftime and like at least get a baseline to at least help you there? And I'm asking because I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna elaborate on the practices and then I'll get to that. So whenever I would go out to practice and during the season, a lot of the blood sugar stuff kind of solved itself, I would say, except for Friday nights because I would just be consistent with it. So during the school day, I would eat the same or try to eat the same thing for lunch. I would try to drink a protein shake right before practice, and that usually sustains like your blood sugar for that 3 hour period.
Okay.
The beginning, obviously, it's hard, and my blood sugar would be going up and down during practice. I wouldn't feel good, but once you're consistent with it, your body kind of adapts itself. and we stopped having as many problems at the end of the season. So I guess just consistency is key with that. But Friday night lights are always different because you might not know this, but like your adrenaline and like nerves, they can actually affect your blood sugar. So, when we're playing a good team and the whole student section screaming and there's lights flashing and stuff, your adrenaline's going through the roof. Your blood sugar is also going to go through the roof. So that's kind of why the Friday night lights were always, a bit of a problem for the blood sugar. But you also don't feel it though when you're playing. You can be playing and the adrenaline covers it. But as of the halftime stuff, yeah, I took my pump, my bag every time to halftime, and I kind of get it situated during that 15-minute time period. So I would get it set, and then it would pretty much be good for the rest of the game.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, as far as like short-term goals, it's to make varsity next year.
Oh yeah, that's a big goal of mine.
So that would be probably the short-term goal. The long-term goal, what do you have? Is it athletics? Is it academics? Is it a combination of both? What's the long-term goal?
So, I think a lot about like what I'm gonna do in my future. The long-term goal is definitely to be rich, and I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna do that by
Me too.
by starting my own business and then using that money to buy real estate. This summer, so sophomore year going into junior year, I started a pressure washing business, and I did kind of some various side hustles, online, and I made a good chunk of money. And I think that I'm using those lessons, and I'm going to repeat that again this summer. And hopefully that can build me a foundation for, like a financial foundation to, start something bigger once I get out of high school or out of college. And then, I can sustain that business doing whatever I do and then invest that into real estate.
Well, as a good businessman, you got to plug your business. So yeah, you can't just you just can't have this open forum and not plug your business. At least mention where it is, and now people can get their pressure washed.
No, yeah. So it was a pressure washing business. It was local in Cary, Illinois, and the surrounding towns. It was called Blue Wave.
Blue Wave.
Yeah, Blue Wave Power Cleaning.
Ride the wave, baby. Ride the wave.
Yeah, I chose the coolest name I could. There's a website. If you look up bluewavepowercleaning.com,
There you
it'll
go.
come up.
Now, see, you should have changed your screen name to your business name, and then you would have been all set.
Yeah, I should have.
Right? This is our first rodeo. We've dealt with people with businesses before, so you gotta pump tires where you can. When that football ends, you need that income coming in.
Joe,
Yeah,
man, we need to hook him up with Joe. Andy, we need to hook him up with Joe.
Yeah, we got a guy.
We know a guy.
Yeah, he's all about creative marketing and taking something small and turning it into something big. As a matter of fact, yeah, one of your father's old stomping grounds, he has a sign in the back, the original sign from the Foxy Lady from back in the day.
We don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Trying to get me in trouble over here.
Yeah. So we'll segue. No, it's great. Ed, before we close, Ed, Dennis, do you want to touch on anything before we,
Yeah, I'd love to. First and foremost, man, Gabe, I'd like you to check out, look up the Yogi Triathlete. He's a buddy I went to high school with. His name is BJ Gumkowski. He's been featured in Triathlete magazine, that type of thing. I think the breath work that he had me doing when I was training for my Ironman that I did, I think would really kind of help you, maybe kind of help you push that adrenaline spike down, maybe help you from spiking so much. Look him up. He and his wife have a cookbook, and it's now they're vegan and stuff like that, but you can also, like, a lot of their recipes and stuff like that were really great. You can always throw some grilled chicken in there if you have to, that type of thing. Definitely check them out. BJ's great. BJ and his wife Jessica, they're great people.
check them out, man. I think that would be really helpful with you as well.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, I will.
Dennis, do you want to touch on anything that maybe your son left out before we close out the remainder of the interview?
No, I mean, I think I want to thank you guys for having him on, and I want to thank Gabriel for having the courage to come on here and tell your story, man. It's good stuff. I love you very much, and I'm very proud of you. And I think if this can inspire some kid who sees it to like say, hey, yeah, I can still do things. I can still play football. I can do whatever I want. Then it's a win, right? So no, just thank you guys for giving him the platform to bring that awareness to type 1, that it's not a death sentence. You can live your best life, right? Which is, exhibit A is sitting right here, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
we
Gonna be a varsity starter for the state championship football team, this
Man,
fall.
you can go from GoonGuard.com and like some mouthpieces, man, from GoonGuard, man.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, but I thought those were specifically for hockey, but no.
No.
I'm gonna go on GoonGuard, but you got to give me the promo code.
Oh,
1973, bro.
yeah,
1973.
Real
His
easy.
mouth guards this year are going to be sponsored by GoonGuard. All right,
See?
I'm going to get on that. I got you.
No, they come 2 to a pack, and they also make the kind that attach to the football cage, or they make the singles that just go in. And everybody that we gave them out to swears by them. I mean, they're like so light, and you can actually have a conversation with them in, like almost like you just put like your dentures in type of thing. So
number seven for the CG Trojans is going to be wearing a GoonGuard mouthpiece this year.
And you can actually, I don't know if you are interested, but if you go on the website, you can actually customize them to your team and however you want to do them. If you want to do colors, you can do colors, you can do all kinds of customization to it. So definitely check those guys out. They're one of the first people we ever had on for sponsors, and fantastic company. We definitely, out of everybody that we've been on, they're top notch. Great guys, right out of Minnesota. So definitely check them out. Definitely sports-based guys. Love them. So definitely check that out. And I just want to say thanks for coming on, because this podcast thing is still such a open forum where you do not know who is watching, how far the reach is, what moment you're going to catch somebody watching something or coming across something. It's like so wide open. It's not just a local thing. It's definitely a worldwide thing. And like I said, you never know who's watching, and the positive spin that you can put on somebody, even if you just get somebody's attention for a half an hour, and they're like, wow, that kid, his story sounds a lot like my story, but I don't have the parental guidance or the know-with-all to, and there could be somebody could reach out and is there some social media forum that could address if anybody reached out to them?
I don't think you're on TikTok. Are you on any social media?
Yeah, I have Instagram. My Instagram is, let me
He doesn't even know. He's got to look it up.
You gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared,
right.
Gabe.
Come on, brother. Come on.
Are you kidding me? 5 minutes before this friggin' thing started, he was in the kitchen shoving food in his face.
Hey, I did say I eat as much as I can get my hands on.
From a positive standpoint, you never know if somebody wants to reach out and have a conversation, and you never know whose life you could touch. So, Gabe, if you have an Instagram that you want to mention, along with the power washing business, to go right ahead.
No, yeah. If any other diabetics or something want to reach out to me, my Instagram is Gabriel_Rose7.
There we go.
I think that one of the biggest reasons why I said yes to hopping on this interview is because I knew I'd be sharing my diabetic story, and I thought that if I can help out, one person that maybe doesn't know any other diabetics in their life, or maybe, is being very challenged by what it's bringing them, maybe they want to quit sports, maybe they want to stop working, maybe they want to just stop whatever they're doing. Maybe I can put a little bit of hope that you can keep doing everything and you can do it to the best of your abilities.
Fantastic. That's a great way to end time together, and hopefully we'll be able to touch base and at least find out if I'll let your dad know how the interview is going, and we can track it and see how far the reach has gone. So
yeah, awesome.
like,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have him back on when they win another state championship next year.
What you know what? We can do that, and also we can bring him full speed and see what a year has done, the reach, and maybe he'll have a story that somebody reached out to him, and we can continue the positive spin on everything.
Sounds great, guys.
All right.
Thanks again.
All right.
Thank you.
From our family to your family, let's put a spin on this, a positive spin, and we'll see you next time. There we go. So moving on, we're going to get into some little quick sports talk before we get into Elimination Chamber talk and Dark Side of the Ring preview. Thomas, news on coming out of Coyotes country, not too good. Not too good.
I'm glad there weren't any cameras back in the day when we were going out raising hell, because these kids are not very bright. This kid from the Arizona Coyotes, Adam Rajewski, mistakenly posted on Instagram, and it was apparently a video of him. There was some cocaine on the table. There was a credit card on the table, and then it panned back to him, and I don't know what the hell he was doing with the, I don't know what but they terminated his contract now. So he's out of a 2-year, $1.5 million contract that he had. And the interesting thing is the league, the NHLPA has, I think, 60 days to file a grievance, and apparently they've already pretty much said they're not going to grieve it. So he's in some trouble, I guess.
Yeah, it's not the first time that they've posted on Instagram like that. Who was it?
Who's Kuznetsov?
What was it? 2 years ago?
Yep.
And then there was the cab incident, right, where the guy was tearing up, saying that you know who I am and all that stuff. So
yep, Austin Matthews, I think.
You got to blame the mustache and the fidget spinner for that. But I don't know. These guys need to lay off the yayo. It seems to be not a good thing unless you're trying to get ripped for training camp. I think it doesn't work for you, Ed.
Well, I'm just going to say this, and I know that Brad's going to tag in at some point on this one. Look, all the great athletes back in the 80s were doing it. Look, Ultimate Warrior. Allegedly the man was doing what he was, may or may not have been doing it. Some of those promos and that type of thing. To piggyback on to Tom, you're absolutely right. Bottom line is this. It goes back to the old Herm Edwards thing. Think before you hit send. You know what I mean? Come on. You know what I mean? Use half of your brain. Even if you're coked out, don't hit send. Come on. It doesn't make any sense. You have a shot where I know that there's 4 of us here that grew up playing hockey and whatnot. And it would be a dream to play. It would be a dream to play in the NHL. And you're sitting there doing blow, and you're gonna put it up on the internet? Man, you're stupid.
I don't know. I might be the minority here. It's 2024. Is doing blow that big of a deal? You lose your whole opportunity to play. Give them a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week suspension. Bring them. It's cocaine, guys.
This is coming from a Dallas Cowboy fan who the Cowboys notoriously allegedly had a house that Jerry Jones paid for the players back in the Leon Lett and Michael Irvin days to party in.
Look, guys, it's cocaine. It's the most readily accessible drug in America. It's not a big deal.
Jeez, what What part of the US do you live in?
Bro, anybody can
South
get
Central?
cocaine. It is so easy to get. Like, come on, man.
Cocaine's
they're
one
rich
hell
and
of a drug.
famous, man. Like, come on, dude. Cocaine and weed, those are the two most basic drugs. Like, give me a break. I think he should be punished. I don't think he should lose his whole contract. That's ridiculous. Give my man's a break. It's
There's
just
a code of
cocaine.
there's a code of conduct though. So I mean, that when you sign your contract, it's in your contract. So
I
mean-
know. I think it's dumb people in the military get kicked out for cocaine. Like, it's cocaine. Give me a break.
I'm with Brad.
Ed, do you want to post? Do you want to comment about the legal from the legal team? Do you already have a note from the legal team yet on these?
Yeah, all of this stuff is all on allegedly, and this is not personal, and we were not held responsible for any comments or that these gentlemen have made or anything like that. Yeah,
I'd like to apologize
Yeah.
as your host for the comments made by the crew and also by Chris wearing that jacket. Thank you.
Hey, this is my drinking jacket today, buddy.
What are you gonna wear that jacket in case you fall down and get road rash?
Exactly. There'll be some falling tonight, that's for sure.
Hey, stay
man.
off the cocaine and blow, or you might lose your spot on the podcast.
I got a nice idea for my next TikTok with cocaine, okay?
Oh, yeah. Hook me up with that.
brother.
Hey, so Tom, you are the beacon of bringing us back to True North. The professor himself. You got to bring us back with this week's Tom Shitty Picks, brought to you by the guy that loves the Boston Celtics and their record.
Yes, their record. By the way, Scotty, hold on, I have it here. Their record 44-12. Your first place, Boston Celtics.
Ooh.
Well, there you go. Cut here. That's our basketball talk for the evening. Thank you very much.
And put a pin in it.
Tom
Oh,
Shitty Picks is brought to you by Brock Street Brewing Company, located at 244 Brock Street South in Whitby, Ontario. The brewery is home to a banquet hall, an on-site restaurant, and a members lounge. Everything they brew is done in-house, including sours, lagers, and vodka sodas. They have something for everyone. So if you're in Whitby, go check them out and tell them the 1973 podcast sent you. All right. So last week, I kind of nailed it with my pick, Artemi Panarin in the stadium game. He had 3 points, had a goal, 2 assists, and he got the game-winning goal. So this week, it's going to be an emotional game tomorrow. So I'm only going with tomorrow's game. Patrick Kane goes back and returns to Chicago. First time since he went to the Red Wings. So I'm picking Patrick Kane, I think, mainly because I think there are going to be a lot of tears coming from the Phantom's house because he is a notorious Patrick Kane fan and Chicago Blackhawks. So he's going to cry twice because he's going to see Kane and the Blackhawks are going to lose. So I think Patrick Kane's going to have the big game.
And they're retiring Chelios's jersey, right?
Yes, that's right.
Hey, Tom, you nailed 2 things on that pick. You nailed the coffin on me for my fantasy playoffs with that damn pick. He lit me up, and I literally got knocked out. I'm done.
Yeah. It's Tom's Shitty Picks for a reason, not
Exactly.
not Chris's coffin picks. So just
It's a sponsorship available on that for you, Chris, though. I mean, Chris, you go around to the funeral home, brother. I mean, here you go.
This is true. So, Tom, couple of quick things. You can hold me to this one, okay? So I'm going to make some predictions, like I did with the Super Bowl.
Hold on, let me grab my pen. No.
I love to do this. It's going to be on the recording, so you can look back. I'm going Lakers to win the NBA title this year. Okay, all right. We'll go Boston Bruins to win the Stanley Cup. You like that one?
You're trying to jinx them.
Okay. And I'm going to go baseball. I'm going to say the Dodgers are going to win this year. How's that sound?
The Dodgers better win because the team that they've assembled on their pitching staff alone.
But yeah, just figure throw it out there. You know how they say manifest, throw it out there in the universe. and it'll
Mm.
happen. Boom, I
Quick
just
Bruin
turned out.
note. Elliot Friedman this week said in his weekly thing, his weekly column said that the Bruins have started to open up, be a little more open to the idea of trading Linus Ullmark.
Oh,
They want to get a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman.
yeah,
and
and that
they don't have anyone. They don't have any draft picks to trade, so
Yeah.
they're going to
Yeah.
trade somebody off the roster.
and that contract's dog shit that he has too. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, what else can they do? They don't have much else to offer. If they want to make a splash, that's all they can do. And you know what? Fucking go for it.
go for it.
Records in the league right
Fucking
now.
go for it.
Yeah. As,
One last thing, Andy.
Fucking go for it.
We're not messing around today. Just go for it.
Did you
Just go
see
for it.
AC? Did you see the fight today in your Flyers game?
I didn't watch it yet. I did not
Awesome
watch the
fight.
game. I am going to watch it as soon as the podcast is done. Because
Delorier, I'll tell you, is Delorier and I think the guy's last name is Rempe.
yeah, they just brought him up.
Yes, they had a wicked good fight. It lasted a good minute, and they were throwing some haymakers.
Yeah,
That
and,
dude had a good 6 inches on him too, and
Yes, he
he
did.
was tossing him around. It looked bad on him anyway.
So we'll put a cap in that, and we'll get to the heavy stuff. Ready for bringing everybody for the heavy lifting this week. I got before we get into the gist of the show, the Elimination Chamber, I'm going to drop in right here this week's cryptic message from the Phantom. So I'm going to drop it in right here somewhere, like right now.
Well, baby, me so horny. Me so horny. Me love you long time. You party? Yeah, we might party. How much? $15? $15 for both of us. No, each you $15. Me love you long time. Me so horny.
Yep. So, Bradley, let's talk Elimination Chamber. That looks like a very expensive belt.
Lucas bought this with his own Christmas money.
Look at that.
Honestly, I don't know how he gets so much Christmas money. Like, I didn't get that much as a kid.
You know why? I'll tell you why. All that cocaine in that house.
Hey, well, if we're snorting it, that money's just going up your nose. It's not like we're dealing it, you know. But Elimination Chamber, I wish I could have had, just one rail of cocaine, because I had to get up at 4:00 in the morning to watch this mug, because they broadcast live from Sydney, or not Sydney, excuse me, Perth. So we had to get up at 4, and for the better part of the premium live event, it was pretty boring. I'm not even gonna lie. As a necessary evil to get us to WrestleMania, so I understand it. The women's Elimination Chamber, I fell asleep. I think
Good for you.
Becky Lynch won.
For women.
Total snooze fest.
Who watches wrestling for women, Brad?
Yeah, it was not
Guys
exciting.
on cocaine.
Yeah, we needed a couple of rails of blow. We would have been into it. Even Lucas fell asleep. Lucas is absolutely obsessed. He's the one that woke me up at 4 a.m. to watch it. The tag team title match, again, Judgment Day won. It wasn't that exciting. The men's Elimination Chamber, spoiler alert, I fell asleep. It wasn't that exciting.
Thank goodness for your reporting.
Right. Woke up to watch McIntyre win it, and I was like, okay, that's we'll go with that. Rhea Ripley defended her title, and guess what? Once again, I fell asleep. Like, it was not exciting. I get it. We had to set that up to get us to WrestleMania. The most exciting part of Elimination Chamber, in my opinion, was Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins coming out and having their interview with Grayson Waller, where Seth Rollins, for like the 5th time, confirmed he was going to be in Cody Rhodes' corner to take on the Bloodline, which seems more and more like a setup. I'm hoping he does a heel turn and reverts back to his Shield, days, and takes Roman Reigns' side. I think that would be absolutely incredible. But also, Cody Rhodes challenged The Rock to a 1v1. So hopefully we see that. I don't know if they're going to save that for like night 1, and then night 2 is the title. I don't know what they're going to do. But he challenged him, and that whole interview with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins was probably the most exciting part of Elimination Chamber.
So it's pretty interesting off this kind of blase setup for WrestleMania, that going into one of the biggest WrestleMania draws that they've had, that there's not really a card announced yet. It's kind of all kind of still up in the air. They haven't even announced a Hall of Fame inductee this year. The big one is usually right around Royal Rumble, and then they kind of filter in after that. So I don't know if the Vince McMahon thing is kind of, the transition is all new, and it's like maybe he's the one that has the final say on the picks, and now it's not him anymore, which is great because Triple H is the one that built the bridge to bring Bruno back, built the bridge to get the Ultimate Warrior back in the fold. He does do a lot of stuff that's best for the fans. So I have faith in him that he's going to kind of right that ship until he gets pinned for something that he overlooked or whatever, or gets fingered for knowing about things and sweeping it under the rug. So that's all coming. We'll get into that more towards the end of the show. So one of the things we like to talk about, we did it last year. We're talking Dark Side of the Ring, starts March 5th. So first episode should be right around the corner. Next podcast, or maybe the podcast after that, we'll make sure it's mandatory that we can at least watch an hour once a week. You good with that, Ed? So the first episode is John Tenta, Earthquake. Thoughts on Earthquake? You think that's they kind of straying away from what the Dark Side of the Ring is all about and going more like biography? Is that what they're doing? I mean, is there really a dark side to Earthquake? What thoughts on that, Tom?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go back to, I believe before he was in the WWE, he was in Calgary, the Stampede Wrestling. So I don't know, maybe there's something there they could go with. I really don't know much more than what we saw in WWE, but he seemed kind of vanilla there. I don't know what kind of story they're going to have, but I think you're right. I think it may be more of a biography one.
Yeah, he was a sumo wrestler too at one time before he got into, and he is originally from Canada. So we'll see. That they're going to start the season off with the Earthquake episode. So we'll see how that goes. A couple other ones. I got the whole list here. Sandman ECW episode. What do you think?
I think
Go ahead, Ed.
I think that's going to be awesome, man. Myself, you, and Tom, we saw him live at the Waltham Armory, right? I mean, he and Sabu and Taz. I mean, back when ECW was all of a sudden, I remember Andrew called my student apartment voicemail and left a voicemail and said, "Dude, you have to check this out, and you have to check it out." And it was on at this time. And I remember coming home from the bars from college and flipping it on, and all of a sudden, everybody in my whole student apartment was like watching ECW, right? Al Snow, all of that stuff, man. And so I think it's going to be great.
Sandman, that should have a kind of crazy story to it, because that's a gimmick that just was totally built for ECW. I mean, I don't think that could ever work with anybody else anywhere else than there. And it's a parody of itself now, because when you see him, I mean, what are you going to get from him? That his finishing move was like that Russian leg sweep thing with the cane and all that stuff. So it's like, you know, it fit the narrative for that time of, you know.
But it was, I mean, the thing about it is that at that time, you know what, 1994, 1995, 1996, 97, 98, that whole time period with ECW and that climb. I mean, it was, I mean, for that point, I mean, it was a bridge from what, you know, WCW was, and then or more towards like NWA stuff to WCW, and that bridge to the Attitude Era in WWE, you know, and then it really kind of like really exploded, and then they took over the WWE.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that a lot of mainstream WWE fans were seeing at the time were kind of subtle ripoffs from what ECW was doing. Stone Cold with the beer drinking, I think he picked that up from when the Sandman was doing it before anybody really saw it. So there's a little steal in a page or two. I still think the Triple H game gimmick was stolen from the franchise, Shane Douglas and ECW. Still, when you didn't have that grand platform, if nobody saw it, it's not stealing. So I guess that episode could be all over the place. I like the episodes when they do them and the guy is still alive. I think it's kind of Bush League when they do it after they pass away. It kind of doesn't have the same feel when they're talking to a third party or a son of or whatever. So one I'm looking forward to. I think this one could be really great. Sherry Martel. Great. One of the, in my book, one of the best managers of all time. Sherry does not get the due for how good she was. She was like almost her wrestling ability and her being so hateable and over the top. And I mean, look at the guys that she managed. She managed Doug Summers and Playboy Buddy Rose. She managed Ted DiBiase. She managed Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, first gimmick when he broke away from Jannetty. Macho King, Randy Savage, Harlem Heat. Who else did she manage? I know I'm missing somebody. There's somebody good in there that I'm missing too. But I mean, she was the total opposite when she was with Randy Savage than Elizabeth was. Elizabeth was like that damsel in distress with this villain that you just wanted to see, like George steal her from him, to Sherry, who was way over the top, helping him, cheat. And they would put her in that stupid makeup that kind of made her look hideous because she actually was kind of attractive at the time. And then those stupid outfits where, her ass would be hanging out and all that other stuff hanging off the cage. And so that it should be a good episode. And the way she passed away young. She, was battling some drug addiction. So that should be great too. Tom, here's one for you. Gentleman Chris Adams.
One of my boys from work class. Yes.
So there should be a lot of good stories with him because he had that bipolar drinking personality that he was a great person when he wasn't drunk. But as soon as he got some drinks in him, he turned into a total asshole. One of the stories that they always talk about his incident on the plane where he was arrested because he headbutted the flight attendant. So, I mean, hopefully all these stories are told well. And Chris Adams, of course, his roommate was the one that killed him, shot him. So yeah, there is a really dark side to that story. So that's going to be a decent one too. Another one, Buff Bagwell. The saga of Buff Bagwell. So, I mean, it's going to be worth a watch because he's still around.
Yeah, he's still on doing independent shows.
Yeah, and he had like a Mr. Rogers gimmick for a little while where he was all clean cut and had the polo shirt on. So I'm hoping that, we get the Buff is the stuff story. So fun fact about him, he was Missy Hyatt's neighbor in the development that they lived in. And she was the one that got him into wrestling in WCW. So he was the handsome stranger in Global back in the day. If you remember Global Championship Wrestling, the tail end of what was World Class Championship Wrestling. So could be worth a watch. So,
do you think that one is like a filler episode, or do you think there's going to be like some depth to it?
I don't know. He's still alive. So, I mean, maybe he'll be like the Jannetty episode if you guys saw that one where he's telling all kinds of stories. So it definitely, you guys need to play catch up with some of those older episodes just so that we can have some stuff to talk about. Great one. I don't know if this is going to be so much of a dark side as more of a biography. Harley Race. So when you talk about men's men, when wrestling was wrestling, he is a legit, after Haku, they talk about legit tough guys in pro wrestling, and Harley Race was one of them. There was no way that you were swerving that guy and taking the belt off him if he didn't want to do a job for you. Story with Harley Races, he used to drive like 1,000 miles an hour with a case of beer and a cigarette on the steering wheel while he was driving. And I believe it was in the early 60s when he broke in. He was in a bad car wreck and killed his first wife. And it never changed the way he drove the whole time he was driving. It's just, they built them different back then, fellas. And when they say guys were tough, there's a famous story about him. They were in a diner and somebody called him phony. And he picked up one, those glass Heinz ketchup bottles back in the day. He cracked the guy over the head with the ketchup bottle and he says, "Is that fake?" Back when you could be blackballed from working in the wrestling business if you didn't stick up for the business. And that's the stuff, like when I see the stuff with the Young Bucks, how they almost like, the name of their book is called Killing the Business. So I would love to see them pull their shenanigans with somebody that used to be like that. Just, where they're laughing at it, just because they had a trampoline set up in their backyard and that's how they learned, and they were Hardy Boys marks or whatever. So Harley Race, I'm looking forward to that one. So
Andy, I think Rick Flair talks about Harley at one time about actually making some dude's eye pop out a couple times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those guys used to know how to pop eyeballs out like with a fish hook to the eye, and they would like fish hook it out and like leave it like that, so the guy was like all distraught until they popped it back in. Just old school things like that. Great story. Staying on the Harley Race thing, Stockade 83, where he dropped the belt to Flair. Vince McMahon tried the night before to have Harley Race not show up at Stockade 83, and he was going to throw all kinds of money at him to bring the belt to New York, and him no-show that first Stockade pay-per-view, which preceded WrestleMania by almost 2 years. But everybody thinks WrestleMania was the first one. Stockade was the first one. And there was a snowstorm in North Carolina that Harley Race drove through just to be there, to be in the main event, to put Flair over for that title. And he pulled him aside and told him, "I'm here for you, for this. I'm here because of you for this." So Flair always tells that story probably absolute better than I could ever tell it. So Harley Race, man's man. They don't make them like that anymore. Another one that I'm really looking forward to, because they hardly know anything about this guy, Chris Colt. I guess there's a wrestling lore on this guy where if you guys had a chance to see the trailer for this year's episodes, I don't know if you saw it, Tom. There's a scene. I guess Chris Colt was like a really good worker, and he couldn't work sober. He always had to be inebriated somehow. So there's a famous match that he had where he was inside a steel cage and he was on acid. And this is the 70s. And all he could see coming over the top of the steel cage was giant tarantulas. And he was totally flipping out during the match. So if you get a chance to watch the preview for season 5, it touches on all that stuff. So Chris Colt, I guess he was a roadie for Joe Cocker on the side. So it's a whole, that stuff I'm wicked interested in, and the stuff that nobody ever talks about before it totally gets forgotten. If you're a wrestling historian like I'd like to be, it's gonna be that one's gonna be great. So speaking of a little Vince McMahon segue, Black Saturday. Tom, you know what Black Saturday is?
Nope.
Ed, Black Saturday? Okay, so when Georgia Championship Wrestling was in its transition period, Vince McMahon bought the major part of that TBS time slot at 6:05. So they actually changed the wrestling without anybody knowing at 6:05 on a Saturday night from Georgia Championship Wrestling with Gordon Soley to a WWF program. So you can go and find bootleg DVDs of, I think it was an 8-month run of WWF in the TBS studio, as you know it. And
Wow.
what ended up stopping it was people were so pissed because they were so used to seeing Gordon Soley for so many years that they actually were writing into TBS saying, "Where is Gordon Soley? Where's my NWA? I don't know these guys." They might recognize a guy that used to be there, but they did that all the way till March of 85. So it was the summer of 84 to March of 85. So when Vince sold his share to get that time slot back, he took that money and parlayed it into the WrestleMania money. It's a true story. It's a true story. So there was one guy that Vince couldn't buy his shares off of, and it was Ole Anderson. So the funny story about Ole, and I would love to see him be on this episode, is the first time Vince McMahon met him when he was trying to buy out all the territories, he met with Ole, and he says, "Hey, Ole, nice to meet you. I'm Vince McMahon." He goes, "Go fuck yourself." And he walked away from him. So a year later, when he had already bought the time slot, and Ole was the only one that wouldn't sell him his shares to that time slot, he flies Ole up to New York. They're meeting at a restaurant in New York. Ole walks in, Vince McMahon's sitting there. He hadn't seen him since that last time. He walks in the restaurant, true story. Vince is sitting there with Linda, his wife. He says, "Hey, Ole, nice to see you again. This is my wife, Linda." She stands up to shake his hand. Vince is already standing up. He goes, "Fuck you and fuck her too." And he turns around and walks out. So he said, as Ole was walking out, he told him, "You'll never work in the WWF." And that's why when they put the Horsemen in, they didn't put Ole in. So yeah, I would love to see them get Ole, grizzled old Ole Anderson on that episode. So that should be good. That's another one I'm looking forward to, because it depends on how they tell the story and who they talk to. And unfortunately, a lot of the guys have passed on. I think Jerry Briscoe was a shareholder in that time slot too. Jack's gone, but Jerry, he had a long run with Vince. He was one of the Stooges for years in the Attitude Era. So that should be a good one. Speaking of Vince McMahon, things are heating up, fellas, with the Vince McMahon saga. Brentford, what do you got this week from the Vince McMahon saga?
Well, I mean, Bret Hart came out and spoke out a little bit. And, for the most part, it's just kind of Bret Hart, I think, kind of venting some shit, and there's a lot of bad blood there. And but the most interesting thing is Paul Roma came out, and I don't know where News Nation, where does that even broadcast on? But News Nation keeps getting all these exclusive interviews. They had Ashley Mussaro's friend, and now they had Paul Roma. But Paul Roma alluded to a situation that was more despicable, more severe than what's going on right now with this whole saga. And I'm like, well, if you know what's up, like, unless some NDAs were signed, right? Like, how are folks not obligated to come forward? And then Stephanie McMahon has been named as kind of like being in the know. So I'm like, why isn't more stuff steamrolling? It's almost like if they don't find these folks to come out and keep talking about it, it's just kind of dying out in the news. And I don't want to see that. I want to see more. There's got to be something more out there than what they're feeding us. So, like I said, I don't know. There's some NDAs.
Michael Bradley.
What's that?
I said, on to the next news cycle. That's what's going on.
That basically, it's like, The Rock came back. People forgot about what happened. It's like
that's why they Rock out there with Cody. Come on now,
yeah.
the bloodline. Come on, what do you think they did?
Yeah,
now,
basically.
Yep. Come on.
I don't know. I'm a big conspiracy theorist, but I'm thinking that I don't. If Stephanie McMahon knows, here's my deal, right? How does Triple H not know? He's fucking married to her. Sorry, Mama AC, I didn't mean to say that word. But Triple H, how does he not know? If she knows, if Shane McMahon knows, do you think Triple H didn't go to Thanksgiving dinner and have this conversation with Shane and Stephanie? There's no way. Like, it's had to have come up. And if Triple H knows, Shawn Michaels knows. If Shawn Michaels knows, who else there, I think more people know. I think stuff's not being talked about, and maybe it's going through the legal whatevers right now. But I don't know, man. I think there's definitely more to these stories, and I don't know if it's ever going to come out, man. But do we want it to come out? Is it going to kill the WWE? Brock Lesnar's already done. How many more people got to take a fall?
I think that the whole thing is just fear of repercussion. If if nothing gets done about it and somebody said something, then they don't want to worry about what happens with whatever career they have left or yada yada yada. I did see the Paul Roma interview. I had seen a longer version of that, him during a shoot interview talking about Jim Powers. And then I saw the Jim Powers clip where he talks about how, there was propositions here and there from certain individuals that have passed away now that me and Tom have probably met in the past. And, if you wanted to advance your career, you could do it through the office per se. And this person, you didn't even have to really do anything. You just had to kind of just lay there. I'll tiptoe around how I say this and, let things happen. And then you could advance your career. And it makes you wonder, the guys that did really thrive there, did they take that offer up? Because I guess Paul Roma was saying that Jim Powers, they never really got along. But he said that he put a hard stop to it. And then when Jim Powers, he didn't just say no, he went to the office and complained about it. And that's when both of their careers imploded. Tag team wise in that young Stallions, Tom? Tag team?
Yeah.
And then Paul Roma ended up having the run with Hercules, Power and Glory, which I thought was better for him anyways, because he always seemed like a heel, persona. He had that New Jersey kind of Guido kind of thing. Go ahead, Tom.
And then pretty wonderful also with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Yeah, terrible. And don't forget, he was in the Horsemen too. You can't forget that he was an official Four Horsemen. And they had the B team, the Four Horsemen B team. Unfortunately, I know Steve McMichael just went in the Hall of Fame, but he's on my Four Horsemen B team. I have to say that. Jeff Jarrett also. Sorry, Jeff Jarrett. But Chris, want to add anything to the McMahon saga? I mean, you're dying to
this stuff just leaves a big bad taste in my mouth. As you guys know, I was a huge Vince fan growing up in the Attitude Era. Watching the shit that he did with Stone Cold was just unprecedented. Huge fan. And I know there was supposed to be a documentary coming out on Netflix, I believe. I know they started filming that back, like, I think 2020 or something like that. That's in jeopardy. He's not in the new game. That's, you know what I mean? So it's like, it kind of sucks, just seeing everything get ripped apart because of this. But hey, I mean, what are you gonna do? You gotta get down to the nitty gritty, figure it out, and he's got to pay for it. Obviously, justice will be served, and right thing's gonna happen in the end. And it's just too bad. Like I said, it's just a sour, shitty taste in the mouth for me.
I think that Vince has been a scumbag from way back, and being around that type of it almost makes you look at how vanilla their presentation was, like, ice cream bars and selling to kids, and ever since they were at Disney when the NWA was wrestling, but the facade behind it, all this stuff that they could never pin him on. I think eventually, I don't know, you're gonna if you keep being like that, eventually something's gonna stick. I mean, am I wrong by saying that, or?
No, not wrong.
He's I don't know. I never thought that, even looking at him with his Mr. McMahon character, and did we all forget the Kiss My Ass Club? I mean, who comes up with stuff like that? I mean, it's like right in your face. Everything they did. The Trish Stratus bark like a dog in front of a comatose Linda McMahon. Remember all that stuff?
Even back then, I thought that Kiss My Ass thing was weird. And
Yeah.
then
Isn't it?
yeah, and then don't forget it was Lita and Edge, right?
Yeah.
They basically made him fake having sex in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what the rated R
That's Vince
superstar
McMahon.
thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you were a parent and you brought your kids to that show, they'll be talking about that. Dad, remember the time you brought me and then this stuff went on and I had never seen something like that. And just, yeah, it's just, how do you
So I watched an interview with Chris Jericho the other day on YouTube, and he came out and was talking about, they asked him, what's the craziest thing Vince McMahon ever asked you to do? And it was Jericho and someone else. They were like, well, you guys are just gonna come out there and like drop your towels and like be naked from the waist down. And Jericho was like, no, we're not. And Vince was like, yeah, you are, dude. Like, I'm the boss, is what you're doing. And Jericho had to go in his office and be like, Vince, are you insane? It's a live event, 20, 30,000 people. You want me to come out here and drop my towel? Are you like, what are you on right now? And Vince finally was like, okay. Put a towel on, but have like nude, briefs or whatever. But it was like, what, are you fucking kidding me? You want to have two men? Like,
I was going to have you guys do that for the 100th episode, but now I know it's a no-go.
Right. Yeah, I'm down. Put some blow out there. I'm down. No, I'm playing. But Vince McMahon used to come up with just the craziest stuff. And there was even another one I watched. I forget the name
on Monday.
The female wrestler, they told her, well, hey, go into Vince's office, oil up your boobs, put them in his face, and like, you're gonna get some airtime. She was like, no, I'm not doing that shit. And so you never heard of it again, right? But like the stuff he was writing and putting on the show that we thought was just part of the creative process, that was real life.
Right.
That's the wild thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And supposedly him and Linda never been officially divorced, but they haven't lived together in like years and years. So it makes you wonder if how did she not know all these years that he was like that? He didn't eventually turn into somebody like that. You must have seen the gradual, decline.
Yeah,
But
she knew.
She's a lawyer too, and she's run for office in Connecticut and all that other stuff. So I don't know. What do you think? Wind this thing down this week or what?
Yep.
Everybody's excited, including Chris. Look at Chris. Chris looks like Addie Lang on the Howard Stern show.
Yes, he does. He does.
Thomas, speaking of Addie Lang, bring us home with some album of the week, please.
All righty. This week's album of the week is brought to you by Purchase Street Records, which is located at 53 Pope's Island, Unit 2, New Bedford, Mass. You can also visit them online at purchasestreetrecords.com or on their Facebook page. Purchase Street Records is Southern New England's largest independent record store.
Hey, it's Scarpetti from 94 HJY back at Purchase Street Records in New Bedford, Pope's Island, and my pick for this week is Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction. Yes! Now, this album is just fantastic to me, but it was also my entry into Megadeth. Remember, I'm a little younger than some people here right now. And the best part about this record was that my 72-year-old grandmother is the one that got me this. It was my first compact disc. My first CD was Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, also Faith No More's Angel Dust. And the thought of her going in a store and asking for Megadeth is fantastic. But anyway, this record, just so many good stuff. Skin of My Teeth, Symphony of Destruction, This Was My Life, and the videos for this too, for Closure of a Dream, and all the other ones, like the videos stick in my brain too. So this is just a great record. I love it. And of course, it's got a Dick on the back of it too, which really I think is absolutely awesome. So if you want to get some good vinyl, pick my pick this week, not whatever garbage Roger throws up there just to make me come in. I see there's a Bluey, you know the show Bluey? There's a record over there for Bluey. I bet if I don't come in within the next 2 weeks, you're going to put that up there, aren't you? Yeah.
Paul and Al will.
Oh, Paul and Al will. Paul will.
Exactly.
Paul is, yeah. So anyway, come on down. Pope's Island in New Bedford, Purchase Street Records.
Boom, right there. So, couple quick shout outs from everybody before we bounce this week. I know it's getting late. Been a lot of stuff going on. Ed, why don't you start us off? Send us out on a positive note there.
Well, let's see. I'd like to say thank you very much for Dennis and Gabriel for coming on Thursday night. It was great to see Dennis and great to meet Gabriel and hear his story about type 1 diabetes and how he is excelling in the football world with that. I thought that was pretty awesome. Phantom, you still need to come on, brother.
Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, my shout out will go to the Fairhaven Police Department because I'm gonna run amok all over this town. Pretty much every bar tonight is gonna be a great fucking time.
Try not to fall down.
I'm safe if I do, buddy. I'm safe if I do.
You know what you need with that outfit is one of those World War I pilot helmets on with the leather on both sides. Or
1942.
Chris, you need one of those boxing headgear things on, like when you spar, you just wear that out. Like Buddy Roberts from the Freebirds when they shaved his head. Thomas, what do you got?
Well, I want to give a shout out to my better half, my wife, Kelly. She's been on vacation this week, and rather than going on any exotic vacation, she helped me this week start putting the man cave together. This is just one side of it, and the rest of this weekend, I think we're going to work on the rest, and the rest will be done. I'll give everybody a quick view when we probably next week when we're done.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah, Ed, you could learn a thing or two, please.
You can't see it, Andy. You can't see it in this picture, but you're in one of these pictures up here from you and the Phantom from the Flyers finals.
Yeah, you know what you got to do is you got to blur out the Phantom's face. You have to do it like the world title when Flair showed up in WWF. You gotta do it like that. You know, the copyright purposes. Bradford, what do you got?
I want to say hi to Mama AC. Sorry your son said the F word 3 times on this podcast. I will teach him to do better. Baseball season's back. Can't wait. It's back for us. We had our first travel ball tournament started today. They lost my son's team. We lost both our games, so we got some work to do. Lucas did great. Super proud of him. He actually came in and showed me on his tablet at the beginning of the podcast. He found us on YouTube. So
I hope he's watching the episode, getting us over the top.
You know, he found the Mardi Gras episode, and I'm pretty sure me and Ed were both wasted on that one. So we have a junior fan club started, and Lucas is the president. So there you go.
Well, someday we'll have all the kids on in the caption, just adding to it. Just want to thank everybody for watching. People that are new to the show, or the people that have been watching since day one. We appreciate it. I'd love to acknowledge everybody. I'd love to have everybody on. There's only so many squares we can fit in this Zoom box before it starts looking too pixelated. I just shout out to my mother that watches every week. She trips me when I see her. She's like, "What is wrong with you guys? There's something bad happened."
I want to know, did her bushes ever grow back from back in the days when we parked at her house and went out?
Oh my God.
Tom, it's a kid's show, so I can't answer that question. I don't want to know any of that stuff. I get what you mean. You guys used to throw the beer cans in the abrevieties to hide them when a lot of underage drinking. We'll have to save that for a deep dive. So I would love to get her on here, but I think it would be a hot mess. It'd be funny as shit, especially after she's had a couple of glasses of wine, like on a Saturday. It'd be hilarious. She would start telling these stories, and it would just go off the rails. You think it's bad with the Phantom clips, never mind with my mother on here. So shout out to my mother this week. We all love you.
Get her on the pod. Let's do it.
We'll talk to you guys next week. That's all we got.